All right, we are recording now, and this is the weekly reset call for the paid community. And I want to welcome you to the call. And what these calls are for is to take you through the reset practice so that you are familiar with how to practice this on your own. The reset, as you know, is something that I developed after suffering with anxiety for decades, really, since birth. And if you haven't read my bio, then I'll just give it to you in a nutshell. I am a former doctor and a 50-year, actually, I'm 68 this year, so a 68-year history of dealing with anxiety. And the types of anxiety I've dealt with in my lifetime have included somatic anxiety, where I have restless leg syndrome that I take medication for. Doesn't always help, but it's still there. It's a low frequency hum of discomfort in my lower extremities that comes on in the afternoon about 3 o'clock and doesn't dissipate unless I take this medication. Feels like electricity going through my legs, which is always fun. And social anxiety. I've always had social anxiety from the time I was little. I've had certain sensitivities to textures. This is why I always wear these V-neck shirts, because they are most comfortable. I have a no dress shirt policy. When I stopped working, I threw away all of my dress shirts, all of my shirts with collars. I refuse to wear them now because they're just torture to me. I rarely wear long sleeves. And so there are all kinds of anxiety symptoms that we have and that we probably share. Anxious thoughts, racing thoughts, especially when you want to go to sleep at night. And so all types of anxiety the most common types of anxiety stem from one particular cause, one root cause, and that is an overstimulated nervous system. Now, our nervous system is like this giant radar dish, and the radar dish is very sensitive to all of the signals that are being broadcast by our environment. It could be texture, as I was mentioning with the dress shirts for me, clothing textures, food textures. It could be loud noises. I don't like fireworks. It could be crowds, the energy that you perceive from crowds that you don't know. It could be lighting. Fluorescent lights drive me nuts. So it could be all kinds of things. It could be a snide remark that someone makes about you in the lunchroom, and it has the same effect on you as if, you know, a Bengal tiger is stalking you in the jungle and you're aware of it. Your body doesn't know how to separate the two. And so anxiety symptoms often feel like they are a fight or flight response. It's it's an all or nothing response to even the smallest stimuli. And what this reset practice does is it helps you to begin to reset your nervous system. So it begins to see the difference between something that is a true grave threat, like a tiger stalking you, okay, or something that is a lot less serious, like someone cutting you off in traffic, okay? That's not such a big deal. You can let that go if you want to. So, I'm going to go through the reset practice with you. Now, the reason this works, and I discovered it after an annoying habit that I've had all my life, which is in every, well, I shouldn't say life partner because they've all gone away, but every romantic partner I've ever had has been annoyed by this one habit, and that is my constant humming. Okay, so I have a tendency, I'm very musically inclined. I play the drums, the keyboards, the guitar, well, until I had arthritis and everything. So, anyway, and so I always have music running in my head. And more often than not, I catch myself humming out loud. And I realized that I did that because, and I still do it today, because it soothes something inside. It's a form of self soothing. And so when we have anxiety, I learned that this vocalization technique of humming a certain sound, and I've shared that with you already in the audio and in the PDF guide, the M sound or the Om sound has a direct impact on the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve runs from your brainstem all the way down into your gut, okay? Passes through the heart, the lungs, your chest cavity, your abdominal cavity, and into your gut. It's a very vital nerve. It can carry signals either way, either from the brain down to the body or from the body up to the brain. We're going to take advantage of that because the vocalization that we're going to practice with the Om or the M chant, I call them chants, is because what it will do is it will send this calming signal to the brainstem. And the brainstem's going to go, oh, wait a minute, what is this? You know, this is not the Bengal tiger energy. This is more like a meditative energy. What's going on here? And so it signals the brainstem. It signals the nervous system to throttle back a little bit. And so therefore, because the body follows what the mind or what the nervous system tells it to do, then our body's response to all that Bengal tiger energy is also going to calm down. So we can take advantage of this feedback loop. We can engage in this practice, this two-part practice, and we can begin to calm our nervous system, which in turn calms our reaction, which are our anxiety responses. So there are two components to the reset. One is the boxed breathing method. This is rhythmic breathing, where we are breathing in a rhythmic fashion. It's not a normal way to breathe. And that also sends a signal to the nervous system. And the nervous system wakes up and says, wait a minute, why are we breathing this way? And that's a good thing. Now we're going to do this for like 5 minutes. And then we would go into the vocalization. Now let me demonstrate each one of these components for you. And then we'll go through the 5-minute portion. I have to bring my timer up here because I like to time these things. Oops, wrong way. I should have gotten this done beforehand. I'm sorry. Okay. 5. Okay, there we go. So now before we begin, I'm just going to demonstrate this to you like a couple of breath cycles in. Couple of breath cycles and then a couple of vocalization cycles, okay? And then we will practice together for 5 minutes. And this is not something you have to assume a certain position for. I just find it better to be seated with your feet flat on the floor. It's more stable that way. You don't have to do anything special with your hands. I just put them in my lap. Right now I have a cast on this hand because of some surgery that I had on my thumb. But you can just lay them on your desk, in your lap, whatever you want to do with them, okay? And so I usually start off with a couple of cleansing breaths. This is a throwback to the Lamaze method that they used to use in childbirth. And not that I've experienced childbirth. I mean, I have as a father, but that's a totally different story. Okay, back to the present, Barry. Okay. So here we are, and I usually do a couple of cleansing breaths just to kind of let my nervous system know that I'm taking some deep breaths and I'm oxygenating my brain. So I'll breathe in through the nose, and then I'll breathe out through the mouth like this. And I'll do that maybe 2 or 3 times. And you can feel your brain kind of waking up and becoming more alert because it's getting fuel, it's getting oxygen. And that helps actually oxygenate your brain because of the rhythmic breathing that we're going to engage in. Now, the rhythmic breathing, as you probably already know, is taking a 4-second inhale followed by a 4-second hold of your breath with your lungs full. And then you're going to exhale, and you're going to time that for 4 seconds. And then you're going to hold that empty space in your lungs, which is a little bit harder to do, for 4 seconds. Now, if 4 seconds seems harder for you because of a lung condition or it's just harder for some reason, shorten it to 3. That's fine. The important part is you're going to do this for about 4 to 5 minutes. I would suggest 5, and I would suggest setting a timer. So one cycle is an inhale for 4 seconds, and I'll draw a box. So it's like an inhale for 4 seconds, and then it's a hold for 4 seconds. I'll do it over, yeah. Hold for 4 seconds, and then an exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold the emptiness for 4 seconds. And then you repeat the whole box breathing cycle again, okay? So it looks something like this. And in my mind, when I do that, that's 2 cycles, okay? 2 cycles of boxed breathing. And you can usually do this, you can usually get about, that's 12 seconds per cycle, roughly, if you do 4 seconds each. And so that's going to be about 5 times a minute. That's 60 seconds, right? 5 times 12 is 60. So that's roughly 5 a minute. And so if you were to do that, you could count out how many cycles you were doing. If you lose count, that's fine. When you feel like it's been 5 minutes, if you don't have a counter, that's fine too. But the secret is the prolonged boxed breathing. Every time you do a cycle, you complete a cycle, you are sending that message to the nervous system to pay attention. And it's a calming message that you're sending, and that's what we want. That initiates that calming signal to the nervous system, and that's exactly what we want. I was talking to my youngest son last night, who also suffers from anxiety, and he was telling me that he engages in the boxed breathing when he's at work sometimes, because he works in a very loud environment, and sometimes even though he's got noise-canceling headphones, sometimes it gets to him. And so he was telling me that he engages in this practice, and so it is something that you can do in the heat of the moment when you feel anxiety coming on. That's often what I do. I do it in the afternoons, I do it in the evenings, I do this in the morning too when I get up, just as a practice, usually before I meditate. But anyway, you can do this as a rapid reset. You can go through about, I'd say, 1 minute to 2 minutes of breathing, and then a 1 minute to 2 minute vocalization chant. That's like a rapid response practice. But for preventative measures, I do recommend the full 5 minutes. So I tell you what we're going to do here, we're going to walk through this together now. And I will tell you that I think that what we'll do is we'll just do it for 2 minutes, okay? So that way you won't get bored with me, which people often do. For some reason, I don't know. We'll just do it for 2 minutes. So we'll do a 2-minute breath cycle, and then we'll do a 2-minute vocalization cycle, all right? And I will, I'll let you know when the 2 minutes are up. My alarm will go off. You may or may not hear it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll tell you when that's off and when we're transitioning to the vocalization. And that way, you'll have a sense of how this practice is executed. And you can go back and look at this video. It'll be available here in the platform, in the playback section of the classroom. Yeah, and you can view this and fast forward it to this section. I'll timestamp it so you know exactly where to go. Okay? All right, so let's begin this practice. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing, and that is that, what was it I was going to say? Anyway, I'll remember and I'll tell you at the end. It'll come back to me. All right, so let's begin. Okay? 4-second inhale. And 1 minute left. Okay, so that is our timer. Come on. Okay, there we go. Come on. Okay, so that was our 2-minute intermittent breathing cycle, or our boxed breathing cycle. Now, I want you to take just a second and I want you to note how you feel at this moment and how your base anxiety level feels. It may not feel any different at all if this is the first time you've gone through the practice. And that's fine, because your anxiety didn't develop overnight. And this practice is not going to magically cure your anxiety overnight. There is no cure for anxiety. There is only management of our symptoms. And so a more accurate statement, I guess, would be that there is no overnight management success that's going to make your symptoms decrease by 70%. I've had that experience only because I've been practicing this for many months now. And by sharing it with you, you now have this ability to do this for yourself. Okay, so now that was the 2-minute boxed breathing component. The second half of the practice is the vocalization practice. And the vocalization practice I use is the Om. Om is no special word at all, okay? In some spiritual circles, they say it's the sound of the universe. I've never heard that sound in the universe. But I like that sound because when I do that, when I do Om, or the M sound, it resonates in my chest, it resonates in my head, in my ears, really throughout my entire body. And that's very powerful because that vibrates the vagus nerve that I was talking about earlier. And what that does is it sends that calming message. It reinforces the calming message that we've already sent with our boxed breathing to the brainstem, which calms the nervous system. Okay, so this is a very powerful component of this practice. All right, so we are going to now start the 2-minute vocalization. I call it the Om chant. You can call it the M chant, and you can either do Om or M, doesn't matter which, okay? And you can do it for, like, I don't know, however long you think you can do it. It doesn't have to be 4 seconds. It's just whatever your exhale is most natural doing. Okay, so let's begin. Om. That's it. Om. Sometimes I close my eyes just to block out the environment. Om. 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 Em. Now, if you become out of breath by doing it, you can slow down, catch your breath a little bit, and then continue. Om. 1 minute remaining. Om. Om. Okay, that was a little bit longer than 1 minute, I think. But now I would like you to note how you feel. Has that made any difference for you at all? Because what you've just done is you've spent about 3 minutes, actually, maybe 3.5, sending these calming messages to your nervous system. I know what I feel. I'll tell you what I feel right now. So, coming into this video, I probably had what my baseline anxiety level is like is just this low hum of background anxiety. It's always with me. And you may feel the same thing. It's not really palpable unless I really, really think about it. It used to be where I was just nervous and anxious all the time. I used to have these nervous tics when I was in high school and college, and even into my young adulthood. It was just awful. It just plagued me, and it was terrible. Fears, all kinds of things. I no longer have that, and this practice has a lot of things have enabled me to no longer suffer from as much anxiety as I used to. But this practice has really begun to reset my resting anxiety state. And that's really what this practice is all about. Because we go around in life with a resting anxiety state. Every human does. Some, like ourselves, notice it more than others. And that's why we do this practice, because we want to decrease that resting anxiety level from up here, to down here where we can keep our head above water, so to speak, okay? So that is why we do this. And we want to live a quieter life. We want to have a quieter mind because life is more enjoyable that way. So I'd like you to note how you feel right now. And a smarter practice is to, after you do this, before and after you do this, on a scale of 1 to 10, just note before you go into your practice, your quieter mind or your reset practice, that, what's your level of resting anxiety? It could be a 5. A 10 is like a full-on panic episode. A 1 is like, I'm great, okay? A 5, I feel it, but it's not that bad. That's how I judge it, okay? That's how I rate my own anxiety. And so when I come into this video, I'm usually at about a 2 or a 3. And right now, after just doing this for 3 minutes or so, I'm at a 1. I'm pretty good, maybe a 1.5. And I hope that, I do want to say that it's okay if you don't notice a change the first few times that you do this. But with repeated practice, and that's why I call this a practice, with repeated practice, the benefit grows. Because as I said before, your anxiety responses did not develop overnight. You have been reinforcing those, practicing those for decades. And the good news is it's not going to take you more decades to reverse that. It's just going to take you a few weeks probably. By consistently engaging in this practice, I know this is going to work. It is backed by science, okay? It is not something that I just made up out of thin air. It's not something I got certified in a weekend workshop. I built this based on my own experience, and then I said, okay, this works for me. What's going on here? And so when I did the research, not only does the boxed breathing impact your brain centers, but so does the vocalization. You've all heard of, the Gregorian chants of Jesuit and Catholic monks. I don't know if nuns do it. I guess they do. I don't know. But monastics, some Buddhist monastics, some Buddhist monks engage in these chants. The Soto Zen Buddhist lineage that I follow engages in a certain type of chant, and I always find that very enjoyable because it calms me down. But there is science behind these practices that we can rely on because it's been researched. I'll post some of that in our community so you know where I'm coming from on this, and you can read it if you want to. It sounds like scientific gobbledygook, but I'll list the resources that I've read that back up these practices. So I'm kind of rambling at this point, I think. We are about half an hour in, and I think that we have come to a logical conclusion in this reset. So let me just summarize here very quickly. I've demonstrated how and why the silent sound reset works. It works by stimulating your vagus nerve. It works by sending a physiological safety signal to your brainstem via the vagus nerve and via our boxed breathing, via the vocalization, the chanting, to throttle back a little bit. So that Bengal tiger energy is dialed back or throttled back. and therefore your body can respond with less intensity. But it's kind of like we have to take the lead on this. Our body has to take the lead to tell our brain, hey, knock it off for a while. And then when the brain listens and does that, our natural anxiety response decreases. So it's not going to do it on its own. That's why you can't think your way out of anxiety. You can never quiet your mind. Your mind is your survival mechanism. It's never going to go quiet. Never, ever, ever until you die. Okay? Then good luck. Okay? Then it's out. However, until that moment comes, your brain is always going to be generating thoughts. That's why we dream at night. It's still generating thoughts. It's still generating survival type energy. The goal here is to get that energy to be compartmentalized. Let's have the threat Bengal tiger energy when there's really a threat. But let's not have that when the threat is minimal, when somebody's just being rude to us. Okay? We don't need to get all upset about that. We don't need our body to respond and go into a full-blown panic, manic episode just because somebody's rude to us. We have a choice to make. I'll leave you with this. In Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote that between stimulus, there you go, and response, okay, there is this space, okay? And between that space, inside of that space, is the power to choose our response. Most of the time, with the Bengal tiger energy, we don't choose a response. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. Somebody cuts us off in traffic, we flip them off. We scream at them, okay? We've all done this. That's not choosing a wise response. Just remember, there is a space between that stimulus and response. When we have panic episodes, when we have anxious thoughts, we're not choosing a response. We're just allowing our body to respond the way it's been conditioned to respond. But by using this silent sound reset, why do I stutter when I say that? I was a stutterer as a kid. It's just coming up again, I guess. When we use the silent sound reset, it's a preventative measure when you use it several times a day. And as I said earlier in the video, you can use it when you feel the anxiety wave kind of washing over you. You can use it in a 2 or 3 minute regimen. But I do recommend that you use it 2 to 3 times a day to condition your brain more rapidly, to regulate your nervous system, de-escalate it, and to enjoy a lower resting state with anxiety. All right. If you have any questions about this, you can post them in the community. I'd be happy to answer them for you. And thank you for practicing. And I hope I look forward to your comments. All right. This video will be in the classroom portion of the platform in just a few minutes. All right. I'll see you next week.